Welcome to the Boba Joe Show.
Welcome, everybody. Hope everybody's having a fantastic week. Hope there's been no fighting and fussing with anybody, because we're going to be talking about some fighting and fussing today with some Street Fighters and some Marvel characters.
Hope you've had no monster attacks. Hope nobody's stomped on your roof.
Nice.
Eggzillas.
Technically
Transformers. Yeah, they turn into little eggs. Like rock lords. But yeah, got me a special shirt on just for tonight's show.
Marvelous shirt.
One of three, because I've got three identical shirts. They've slightly different characters, but the exact same layout on it. They keep cranking it out every year. But you get them up at local shops. Like, I wait till they're on sale for like $10. And I'm like, yep, I'll get them.
Yeah, so we're just kind of having a nice chat today about, Marvel versus Capcom, Street Fighter versus X-Men, whatever spin you want to put on it. Basically, our Jada Street Fighter toys and our Marvel Legends going to do battle, and just a general wee chat about the toys themselves in general and the Street Fighter stuff in particular, because I think Johnny will agree, and I know our good friend Jesse the Epic Badger, if he's watching, he'd also agree.
Badger.
Jada are just they are just really, really doing a great job with these Street Fighter figures they're putting out at the moment. So you're going to be hearing me praise them probably quite a bit during the course of the stream today.
Yeah, there's some excellent figures, and it's funny, like, seeing these really cool Street Fighter figures out now. I mean, there's a lot of different companies that have done Street Fighters over the years. A lot of different companies have done Marvel stuff over the years. But to me, it was like yesterday, late 90s, that we had Marvel superheroes, X-Men, Capcom games, the arcade games. I mean, there was home console stuff as well, but the fighting games. We had X-Men versus Street Fighter, Marvel superheroes versus Street Fighter. Then we had Marvel vs. Capcom, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and some tie-in toys from Toy Biz, which I had a few of back then, and my mate bought quite a lot of the line, so I got to mess a bit. We went to the same comic shop, and I bought this one, he bought that one. We'd go back to his house and be opening them, so I saw a lot of them in person firsthand back then. And to me, it's like I can close my eyes, and it's like yesterday seeing these other figures that are, like kind of your 5-inch size in it.
Oh, I loved them back in the day. I really, really wanted quite a few of them. I didn't end up picking up any. I'll tell you what I was picking up at the time. Those Marvel versus Capcom figures were released. I was actually buying the Toy Biz Resident Evil figures. I think in and around that time.
I got some of those on clearance.
But back in the day,
year I was in Australia, I got a whole pile of them on clearance with the Toy Biz Resident Evil figures and Darkstalkers. And the Darkstalkers basically was that same line of the Marvel versus Capcom continued on in that same size, because they did repacks where you'd have like Morrigan and stuff and some of the same card back, same bubble and everything.
I think I'd still, like, I know the figures themselves are obviously limited, but I wouldn't mind picking up a couple of those Toy Biz 2-packs unopened just to hang on the wall, because they were a very nice presentation.
Mostly yellowed, unfortunately, but
yeah, hard to find in good nick these days, I'd imagine.
Yeah, they're about as yellowed as like a 70s Mego bubble now. I don't know why, just a particular mix of plastic in those ones. You see most of them are yellowed. You can get stuff from the early 90s that's not as badly yellow. It's just the particular mix of the old petrochemicals. So before we get into the awesome images, so on tonight's show, tonight, because I don't even know what time in the world it is. I was listening to this, but it's morning for you, it's night for me. So it is tonight. So this show will be focused on these characters and figures, but also on one of Mark's current displays where he's got stuff out. So he's been posting cool images recently. And I'm like, let's do a show just about all the stuff you've already got out there, because sometimes you're like, let's do a show on this. And we're digging out the back. We're going out the back room. We're digging out tubs. Oh, my God, where's this bloody thing? And I can't find this. And I'm like, here's stuff that's already out. Let's do a show on that one. Nice and easy. So a quick overview of some of the history of the various Street Fighters and Marvel figure characters from various companies. In the 90s, of course, we had the Hasbro G.I. Joe ones. I used E Honda here. I know old Zazel likes the old E Honda figure. One of the nicer figures in the line. I had the Dalzim, which I bought on clearance, and I bought it kind of as a gag because I used to see some in the shop and kind of laugh and go, "Oh man, look at these dudes, they're hilarious." But in retrospect, they're actually really nice figures, and it's actually quite a overall quality subgroup of Joe toy lines. They're actually quite cool. The cards are awesome. Even though back then I laughed and went, G.I. Joe's Street Fighter, what? I'm like, they look, to me, they just look kind of ridiculous. Because why has he Honda got an axe and a sword and a little butcher butterfly knife from Kung Fu? And all that? But they're actually genuinely cool figures. They did a good job.
They are.
Those
I had
other
a couple
ones.
of them.
Yeah. Which ones do you have?
I had Guile, I had Chun-Li. I actually had a vehicle. I had Guile's Sonic Boom tank. I had that vehicle.
Nice.
And
yeah, the vehicle repaints are cool too. If you like, they did nothing to do with Street Fighter, obviously just G.I. Joe repaints. But if you want like weird colored repaints or vehicle to pick up and repaint yourself, it's it's cool to get other part reuse, just like Kenner style stuff, how they reused a lot of things. So we got Storm Collectibles, so we're still going now. Of course, they've done a lot of the classic Street Fighter figures. They're now putting out some of the Street Fighter Alpha figures. Older stuff, we had Sota. They've done a lot of I guess they've done the most diverse range of Street Fighter stuff because they're classic stuff, Alpha stuff, all sorts. Toy Biz, of course, back in the 90s, we had the X-Men vs. Street Fighter and Marvel vs. Capcom ones. Even that Zangief there, that's like an alternate like Player 2 color with the green and all that. So they did a lot of repaints. Figure Arts, very long running line in Japan. Before a lot of this other stuff, Figure Arts is probably the longest running line that's done Street Fighter in any way that you would call quality, where in Japan it's kind of standard to get these box figures with the alternate, if it's not an alternate head, sometimes an alternate face plate rather than a whole head, alternate hands, the transparent effects like a Hadouken fireball, that kind of stuff. And I put honorable mention Kotobukaya, which are plastic statues, not posable figures, but they're very anime kind of like screen accurate to the games and the artwork, very much very like popular line. Some people who are not into action figures but like Street Fighter would prefer just to have these plastic statues as cool display pieces. So they're, and they're in the similar scale from that kind of 6 to 9 inch kind of scale. And not pictured there. There's also some the other one that does the 9-inch scale ones that's done bloody Batman and Resident Evil and all that. Play Arts Kai, they've done some Street Fighter ones as well, but they're a bit weird looking. They're not terribly desirable. It's a typical Play Arts Kai kind of body. And so quick overview of some of your Marvel stuff we had. In the 70s, of course, Mego, and here's a nice vintage Mego Hulk, whose limbs are unfortunately exploding off. This is on eBay right now if you want to buy this one. So unfortunately happens to some of these older figures. In the 80s, Mattel did the Secret Wars, where Hobgoblin had his secret shield, never mind a glider. You got to have your dopey secret shield, because everyone on the line, of course, had the shields, and that was the gimmick. And they were not bad figures. They weren't great. Nice. They weren't as good as Kenner's Superpowers, but they were like the B-grade version of Kenner's Superpowers for Marvel sort of thing. But they kind of set the standard or tone for what came in the 90s and 2000s when you look at the character selection and the card backs and the kind of logos and layout. Because we got in the 90s, we got a lot of Spider-Man, and a lot of X-Men as well. A lot of it based around the animated shows and with a lot of gimmicks and stuff. But these were quality toys, nice sculpts, a lot of gimmicks, but the gimmicks worked. Often you could plug a thing on, or there was an extra backpack, but you didn't have to put that backpack on like Joe stuff. And so the figures were actually still good by themselves, and you can still pick up a lot of these quite cheap now. If you don't like sections, you want smaller figures, they're still very good. Around the year 2000, Toy Biz started doing the 6-inch size, which came out in 2001, but they're sculpting and designing these around 2000. And I don't know, but I think that's partly reaction to what McFarlane Toys was doing, because they were in the comic shop big time, 98, 99, with 6-inch figures. A lot of them were plastic statues with cuts where Spawn would move his arm and he had a big Gatling gun and a meaty grill face. But this Spider-Man here with the old ripped costume is the same as the other Spider-Man I got behind me, but with different details. But all the web is all cut in. He's got different like tones and shading on them, and they had these amazing bases here. The lizard's like going like a zombie coming up. The bases were fantastic, like, and the paint. It was like modeling in miniatures, but applied to action figures. So that was really like awesome line Toy Biz did from like 2000, ran for, I don't know, at least 5 or 6 years before whenever the heck Hasbro took it over. And over in Japan, we've had Figure Arts, Kodo Bukaya, Play Arts Kai, 30/3A, because that's the American and Japanese kind of arms of the same company, and Hot Toys. And I don't know where Hot Toys is based, but obviously they do a lot of stuff for just about everything imaginable. But yeah, that's a quick overview. And then we get to the modern era where Hasbro has your Marvel Legends core comic stuff and Marvel Legends MCU, or Marvel Cinematic Universe, which I've got a fair bit of both of these kind of lines. Oh, sorry, Diamond Select as well was the other big one that's been in the last decade, but now they've gone bust, so no more of them.
Yeah, Diamond are gone. What did some company like
Diamonds are not
Diamond
forever,
recently?
Mark.
They are not. They are not. Ric Flair is forever, but not Diamonds.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, who bought them? Somebody bought.
I don't know.
Diamond
It's been a scuttlebutt for a long time, and in the last 12 months, Diamond officially went bust. But for people who've been around a long time and followed like Previews magazine, which was the old comic catalog, and Diamond, they've been in trouble for a long time. They've kind of pretty much gone nearly bust multiple times in the last decade. So it's not really a surprise to anyone that sort of followed the old comic shop news and Previews magazine.
Now, I know,
I don't know who purchased
in our circle, Diamond Select, first of all, like they make some really nice looking figures. I will say that, or they did make some really nice looking figures. I think most people though who have them, they usually have them as kind of like supplemental characters in their Marvel Legends
That's what I do.
Hasbro shelf for that. I know very few people who would just
whatever the hell that thing was that Thor fought in the first film, the big armored suit thing. I've got the diamond one of that. I've got a diamond Thanos and a few Hulk's bad guy, Abomination. I treat it like my Farlane toys. They do really good, giant, monstery, big dudes. But if you want something that's in scale with your other figures, everything's just out of scale and in a slightly awkward, weird pose where it's like, well, it's Rob Liefeld doing a comic cover of the 90s, but don't look at the feet and don't look at it at certain angles because it won't look good. But just the right light and just the right angle, it looks nice.
That's really it in a nutshell. Exactly with Diamond, they're big stuff. Anybody who has their stuff mixed in with their Hasbro, it's always their big characters. Like even on my shelf, it's like their Juggernaut or their Incredible Hulk. It's those type of big guys that look really nice.
Yeah, I have
Sabretooth is a great big one.
The green one that's just like the Marvel Legends one, but bigger, basically. I love the Abomination because it's like, if you pick it up, it doesn't feel like an action figure. It feels like a solid block of resin. And I'm like, you could use it as a doorstop, or if someone breaks into your house in the night, Abomination to the cranium. It's like, that's a genuine web. It's so heavy. It's like just ridiculous.
Very heavy. It's the type of thing like where you wouldn't want to be keeping it on a high shelf just in case it did fall on your head and
brain you if
you.
it fell off.
Yeah,
it would be like if a Titan scale transformer, which I'm surrounded by this room, fell off and hit me in the head. But the plastic of them is kind of thin in the middle, so they're kind of dispersed. Whereas Abomination would be like a kettlebell or a rock falling off a shelf and just hitting you with the head. It would knock you out.
Yeah, I'd take my chances. Yeah, I'd take my chances with the Titan transformer falling on me over a diamond.
Yes, I would, because they're thin in parts. It's like hitting the mat in the wrestling. As long as you spread out, you're all right.
This is a nice shelf here. We got a lot going on. Spidey in action.
Yeah, I had multiple displays on the same shelf, which has now got me wrestlers over here. At times I've had just like core Avengers or Fantastic Four, or then it was a Spider-Man. I kind of did some theme. And in between, when I was opening figures and packages, I would just shove whatever on there. So it was a mix of the old display, which I was taking down in the new stuff. So eventually this became a whole Spider-Man shelf. I was going to have Spider-Man and X-Men like 90s animation. Then went, I got too many X-Men and too many Spider-Man, and then went, the whole shelf fills just to Spider-Man villains, and I can either do just villains or just Spider-Man variants, and that's a whole display unto itself. But yeah, sometimes it's fun just to kind of mix and match and chuck a bunch of dudes in there, and then I took them off and eventually got to doing a different lot. But I had this shelf for a while, having sort of classic Marvel heroes and villains like Wolverine, Cap, Hulk, Spidey, with some newer ones like Miss Marvel, the stretchy Indian girl one, not the other classic one. And then over here I got like Grey Gargoyle. Actually, there's Diamond, Sabretooth, and Diamond Abomination. Whirlwind, very fancy special effect. That's a bit of you get that bendy metal, which is in the packages of some figures rather than the plastic straps, particularly on like bigger stuff or McFarlane stuff or NECA 118. 18-inch, not 118. But that bendy stuff, if I get it, I save it because it's bendy metal and plastic. It's very durable. I reuse it rather than chuck it out. I made that into a big spiral loop, and then I got Glad wrap or saran wrap or shrink wrap, whatever you call it, depending where you live. This plastic transparent wrap, just wrapped it around, and it made like quite a good effect for like whirlwind, like buzzing up into the air. And I didn't read the 70s comics, but I did play the Captain America arcade game, and I had it on Sega Genesis, Captain America and the Avengers, and he's the first stage boss. So that's my kind of like main memory of Whirlwind, other than being in 90s cartoons. I've got the old
really good idea.
Spider-Man up there, and
it's a great idea for an effect. What you did with Whirlwind, I have to say,
that was just a one-off thing I did. Like I just thought I'll just try this, and it turned out okay, so I left it up there. And you can't see, but I've got fishing line. He's hanging behind his shoulders and trapezius sort of here, bit of fishing line off a hook, so he's hanging off the shelf above him. That's how he's suspended in the air. Same as you can see, Storm obviously has got stuff from the previous figure, and the Spider-Man's on a base from those Spider-Man classics from 2001. I've got bases on opposite sides that were wall mounts, but you can still clip on modern figures on there. And we've got here Wolverine, Daredevil in the black costume, and a couple of these hand ninjas, which were very nice figures. And then that's movie Deadpool there, who's one of possibly my favorite Marvel Legends they've ever done, like in the modern stuff at least. Anyway, it's a really, really excellent figure.
Really, really nice figure. Believe it or not, I have no Deadpools in my collection at all. I'm ashamed to say, like no version of them. They did a retro card one based off his 90s X-Men look a while ago that I missed. I'm probably going to try and.
I wanted that one. I've got two. I would have had that as the third one, but I was so happy with the movie one that even though he's a different aesthetic and he's the Ryan Reynolds movie version, you can still kind of chuck him in stuff. Plus, Deadpool being a fourth wall character, he can be in any display you want if you really want to. That's a Diamond Select Thanos. And this one here is, if you've ever seen that old movie, I forget whether it's Network or Broadcast News. I always confuse the two titles. But he's mad as hell, and he's not going to take it anymore. That's that pose. That's what he's doing.
Who's that underneath his arm? Is that Silver Surfer or is that Iceman?
Iceman. But he does look quite silvery. Like he does kind of got a pearlescent look to him. You got first appearance Wolverine, and there's a scroll. And this was just when I had loads of stuff on the shelf, and I purposely crammed them in. I wanted to get this like crazy picture of all these dudes before I pulled them down. Movie Deadpool, movie Wolverine. This was like on my shelf when I had my Marvel Cinematic Universe up. I never intended to collect any of the live action ones because the early ones, like Star Wars Black Series, the early ones, their face sculpts were terrible. They looked nothing like the actors or likenesses. They looked really amateur out, even by, not just by modern figure standards, even by like year 2000, 2005 figure standards, the faces were dog shit. You can go back and look at like Jack specific wrestling figures like 2005, 2000, whenever they lost the license, like that Junkyard Dog. Amazing faces and sculpts. The early Avengers and first the Phase 1 movie figures had terrible faces. They were so bad. So I never cared about any of them. I'll just see them in the store, move on. Had no intention of ever buying any movie crap. But just like Star Wars Black Series, because both by Hasbro, same technology, face scan, computery, 3D bullshit, they started having the actual actors' faces on the figures. And then I was like, oh, this is interesting. I like movies. I like actors. I like Hugh Jackman. He's Australian. I like Samuel L. Jackson. So even if it's not a Marvel Legend, you can sell me a Samuel L. Jackson figure, and I might buy that just because it's Samuel fucking Jackson, mate. Fucking Pulp Fiction, man. So I started getting interested because of the faces, and sometimes the necks were not good or the heads didn't sit right. And I mean, on Retro Blasting, he's talked about all the part swapping of Black Widows and Captain America and that. But over time, there's a decent amount of actual quality figures in amongst some of the shittier releases. So I had quite a few of those. I've got probably 30 or 40 of them now. And
yeah, I love the Punisher War Machine you got there in the middle of them.
yeah,
as well.
I read that comic story that was from and quite enjoyed it, where it's just like it was an old roadie armor that was in some lockup black site, and Punisher just went in one day and stole it and used it to kill a whole bunch of people.
It's awesome. I never even read the story, but it looks awesome enough that I
It's very
want to
brief,
own it in
very
my collection.
But yeah, it was a fun figure to get, and I ended up with not even that one, but a normal Punisher figure, and then a movie War Machine, which was nicer than the comic War Machine. And then I also have a comic book War Machine. It's more kind of 90s style with the roadie here, older Iron Man here, popping and locking with Deadpool and Bender.
Love that Iron Man. Love that Bender, actually. What company makes the Futurama toys?
I don't know, because I bought this like 20 years ago. It was like the first company, I think, to actually make Futurama figures like that size that weren't mini PVC. Like the chest opens. It came with a little stack of cash that goes in his chest and a bottle of the old Fortran malt liquor or malt whiskey or whatever. And his arms can kind of go like that sort of thing, like he Lost in Space robot. But Bender's the only one I ever got. I never got the other figures. They were okay. It was back when I was going to Quality Comics in Perth and buying my monthly pull list of Savage Dragon, Ninja Turtles, Punisher, Spider-Man, Simpsons comics, because I didn't have a TV at the time, so I used to read the comics. And they had this awesome Bender figure. It was very good. But yeah, back on the shelf here, had the old Daredevil do a nice side kick to Electro, who has the best facial expression for getting kicked in the gut.
Yeah. They're doing a re-release of that Electro. I'm going to try and pick him up. I love that black suit Daredevil, though. I really, really like that black suit Daredevil.
I wanted the red one for ages, and I couldn't get it, and I still haven't been able to get it. I've got that black one's my main one. On the wall that I've opened it, taped up. I've got that other 90s one where he wore red on his chest, but it's armor plating, and then it's grey and it's black, and he wore all this armored stuff from the 90s. But it came with a Matt Murdock head, which I then swapped onto a suit body, so I actually bought that other figure. There's the other Deadpool, and this is like a nonsense reference to Hot Shots too.
It's crazy though. Like we get so many Spider-Man and Wolverine reissues every year, but they hardly ever give you like a Daredevil or just some of those other characters that are starving.
They've done a lot of
for,
Captain Americas, but they're mostly movie Captain Americas. And they've got quite a lot of Venoms.
Really nice setup here. Where are these ninjas from? Are they
you've
like
got hand
movie
ninjas,
or G.I. Joe?
and then you've got that G.I. Joe Snake Eyes movie clearance. Is it Storm Shadow, the white one? I got them on clearance. They're actually not a bad figure. They're comparable to a Marvel Legends in quality. Terrible movie, not a good figure line. But if you wanted budget clearance ninjas, which I was sitting there going, these toys are shit. They'll go on clearance. I'm waiting. When they did, I got 3 of these ninjas just to go with my other ninjas for people to beat up in Marvel figures.
I think I recognize your Wolverine as the one that comes in the 3-pack.
Bone claws, unfortunately.
Yeah. Is that the one that comes with Jean Grey and Cyclops? Is that Wolverine?
Yes, that's the 3-pack one. It's the same figure they've redone up until they're still re-releasing it now in different colors and whatever. But it's got those annoying bone claws from that storyline and I think Andy Kubert drew where Magneto ripped the adamantium out of his body, and then I don't know. Got it back years later. Okay, now we're on to the proper images from Mark's collection. We've got some wicked X-Men here.
a mix here of Hasbro and Diamond Select. My Magneto is a Diamond Select Magneto because I like my Magneto being tall. He's just I don't know. I always see Magneto as a tall dude. What about you? I think he's a
well. Even if like I don't know what his objective height is. Let's say he's not super tall, but the framing in the comics is you're seeing him flying, or you're seeing him as this like almost mythic, powerful figure, or a kind of upward camera angle. So we're kind of faking that he's going to look bigger and larger than life, however you see him on in your comic or on the movie screen. So yeah, it makes sense. He's in your mind's eye. It's like how tall is Optimus Prime? He's bigger than the goddamn screen. He can't even fit on the screen, but they've got to zoom back and try and get him in there. And Magneto's like that. It's like we've got to try and get him out of mind's eye, see if we can get him in there because his ego and his ambition's too big.
I do have like a Hasbro Marvel Legends one that I haven't put out. I don't know. He's not that he's too small. He just looks a bit scrawny or something in comparison. I can't really describe it. I kind of like another thing I like about Diamond is they do give them very kind of like roided up bodies. You know,
Yeah,
they're kind of meaty.
I've got the standard Legends one, and it is an overall decent figure. And I think I swapped their head. I had the 2-pack Old Man Logan, Wolverine, and Hawkeye, who looks. I'm fairly confident the head it comes with is based off 70s Chris Christopherson because it looks exactly like him, but like nothing else in the fucking world. But I put that on that Magneto, and it looks like the kind of Joseph Magneto when he had the long hair and he lost his memory and all that.
The evil Ryu just hidden there among the
nice.
the X people. There's an evil Ryu and an evil Ken
darker colors
on that shot.
There's a Psylocke from that 2-pack. This was from you got recently.
That's right, yeah. And I gave her the samurai sword is actually from a Walking Dead figure. It's like Michonne from the Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Because of course they did not
for years. All the other ones keep getting scalped. It was like Rogue, then it was Beast, Psylocke, Cable. All those figures have been so hard to get every time they re-release them.
It's so cheap though, man, that Hasbro wouldn't give her a sword. They didn't even give her that kind of they even in the Jim Lee box they gave her the see-through purple sword. They didn't even like retool that and throw it in.
Don't get me started on the lack of modern Hasbro accessories and the high prices and the lack of hands or heads or weapons, let alone bases we got on the top, because that could be a whole other show, just gripes with like the overprice and like modern shit that we don't actually get good value on, because that's just it's like when you watch those retro blasting ones, it's like you have to buy 3 different fucking versions so you can cobble together the version you actually want that's based on the actual look of this artist or this era or animation, because they keep fucking up and giving you stupid accessories or not giving you accessories and all that.
Yeah, they really do. And it's just they cheapen you, and like they cheap out in you, but they still charge high prices. Like that's what
high prices, you get half of what you got 20 years ago.
Like it's a shame she didn't come with the sword. Like it really is. Like it's like a signature
weapon. I can see you got several Wolverines in your collection, as virtually everybody does who's ever bought any Marvel Legends. It's inevitable to have multiple like Spider-Mans and Wolverines. Did the claws come all crooked? Because I've had to fix every fucking one that I've had. I've got 3 or 5 different Wolverines. Every one of them, the claws were fucked, and I had to fix them.
A lot of them wore in box, like so for his
mine was
for that one
in
in that picture. Yeah, they just they come out like that. I used to bother fixing them all. As you can see with that one, I've obviously left it on one of his hands. Two of the claws look like they're going closer to each other. I came up
with a method to fix my ones easy enough. They still will go to shit again because the claws are just not good quality. But like when I got in the box and it was all warped and gone to shit, it's the attachment point. I could just pull it straight out as well as being crooked. So what I did is I pulled all 3 out. I super glued them all back in, and then I had to put little spaces in between with like kind of tweezers and paper towels or a bit of foam. I would cut it up so it would space them out like your own fingers, so they wouldn't go too close. So I'd get the spacing, Now I'd have to leave it overnight, immobilized for 24 hours. And once it had glued in that position, the glue held and the position held so they weren't crooked and the plastic wasn't warping. And I've done that several times with Wolverines successfully to get them to how they should fucking be, how they were manufactured before they went crooked in the packet or heating and cooling and shipping and all that.
Yeah, and I'd say that is what happens though. The change in temperature when they're packed in.
The
Something
attachment
just
points
happens.
there's just shit on them. Plus the plastic's too soft, which is really a safety standard thing. They can't make it too rigid because God forget, but a kid buys one of these toys that adults basically only buy and sticks himself in the eye or anywhere that Wolverine would stick a claw, basically.
But remember there a few years ago when people were getting these really cool custom metal claws where they were popping out the plastic claws and putting in actual little tiny little metal claws.
See, if you've got an uncle that
cool.
does metal machining or something, go out the back and, get him to make you something.
Yeah, like one thing you'll see about my collection is I kind of am pretty relaxed when it comes to mixing, not just like brands. Like you're going to see a mix of Diamond, Toy Biz, and Hasbro on my shelf, but you'll also see like I don't mind putting, cartoon collection with comic collection with whatever. I just don't mind really mixing it up a bit, as long as
Is
it
that
kind of just suits
Wolverine from the cartoon VHS cover ones?
That Wolverine is actually from that triple pack, I think, with Cyclops and Jean Grey.
It's hard to tell sometimes on the lighting. I know they did a lot of those VHS cover ones where it was the same old figure, but they made the colors just a bit brighter and all that. Like Jubilee's and other figures been impossible to get over here. Like, for years I tried to get one. Every release, impossible to get.
I think that Jubilee is from the VHS collection.
Yeah. I tried to get that one.
Figure, actually.
The cheapest price on release was $100 Australian, which is all American scalpers just selling it on eBay. And I was like, no, ridiculous. Because I was trying to go for pretty much when I looked at your pictures and went, this is my ideal X-Men collection I've been trying to build for several years when I was like started picking up figures. And then I was like, fuck it, I can't get any more of these. I'm not paying $100, $200 for a fucking $40 figure. It's basically a hybrid of the 91-92 Jim Lee stories and the X-Men animated series. That's which is like, what do you call it? Blue and gold and whatever the hell teams they call them. But it's a mix of those guys plus, Cable and Bishop and all them, your future guys.
Yeah, and that's the thing about X-Men. It can be a tricky thing to collect when you're trying to like nail down teams because
well, you could have a Marvel Legends collection of just X-Men characters would be several shelves.
And because even just trying to nail down a team for a particular era, because you even have these kind of transitional lineups and teams where people are kind of coming and going, and
X-Force, Excalibur,
so much. But like once again, we got the oops, sorry, knocked my water there. Almost knocked my water. We have a mix of Diamonds, Hasbro, the onslaught in the back there behind Professor X is actually a Toy Biz Build-A-Figure. That's right. I have the full wave of that I still have upstairs in tubs.
That's Diamond Juggernaut. I can't even remember. Darker brown. You can still get bootlegs of that on AliExpress, colored in as Captain America for some reason, and you can get a bootleg of that Diamond colored as Deadpool 2 movie Juggernaut, where he's in the prison outfit. I mean, I've been very tempted to get that.
The Sentinel, you can see most of the body of there.
That's the shampoo bottle Sentinel.
The Titan Sentinel from whatever, or like Hasbro's Titan series, I believe it's called.
I tried to get them. They're meant to be cheap. They never came to Australia at retail. I never saw them.
Yeah, I was nearly thinking of army building them at one stage. Then I
just wanted three. I wanted three because I was never going to buy the bullshit Hasgrab one. That was a crazy price. The old Toy Biz one is a good size, but expensive now to get. So I'll be quite happy to have them because you put them back far enough and like perspective works,
Or even if you just want to go and like, I'll say one thing, if you're willing to mix scales, there's plenty of 3 3/4 inch Marvel stuff anyway. You
Yes.
could probably buy like a set of those X-Men 97 small figures and just put them with that Sentinel, which I'm guessing
They've
is
got
what it was
those
made for
toon
anyway.
animated Sentinels in those 2-pack boxes, and it's a really nice figure, but it's 6-inch. I'm like, I don't want a 6-inch Sentinel, or maybe it's 7-inch or whatever. But the paint on it looks terrible. It's like not just animated, it's like day glow neon bright colors on it. It looks not good at all. Good
Is it
sculpt, but
supposed
the
to
colors
be,
look terrible. I was going to actually buy them just to have something, and I went, no.
do they look like that? Are they supposed to be looking like that because of the Konami video game? Is that the color scheme they're going
Oh,
for?
sorry. Yes, yes, you're 100% right. That is why they look like that. Because I forgot that was another sub line. That's an offshoot of the VHS animated line. They did repaints into the cone. That is why it's super crazy, bright and pixely, weird looking. But I wish they hadn't done it so bright because I would have. They're still in the stores now, but nobody wants them. They're just sitting there and no one buys them.
See Evil Ken there, or Violent Ken as he's known, hiding among the
Dark Ken,
I
Violent
kind of
Ken.
just started doing that as the
Has he
collection
been to the
expands. You just find
same salon as Jean Grey, I think.
yeah, Jean Grey has great hair. Even though you get the choice of heads with that figure, if I remember correctly, she can have her with the ponytail
Yeah.
if you like that look, but I like her with the big flowing hair. That's my preferred
You
look
got to
for
have the
Jean
big
Grey.
pin-up model here. I don't like the animated pullback one that just looks real mousy looking.
The Nightcrawler is one of the newer X-Men 97 ones. Just got him because he just looks like your typical Nightcrawler anyway.
He's beautiful. I've got the previous one, which is the exact same figure, but the comic deco, not the VHS deco. But that were really nice figure. They've re-released that 3 or 4 times with multiple heads, and he's got his Excalibur sword and all that. But really good sculpt on him, and the tail's nice too.
That Onslaught Build-A-Figure though from Toy Biz, that's a really nice figure for a build. Like it's got articulated fingers, you know. It's just and it's just a very nice kind of gritty color scheme. Because I know more Hasbro did a modern Onslaught. This looks very kind of clean and shiny. Like I just kind of like that more gritty appearance that he has here with the Toy Biz
a
one.
lot of that Toy Biz stuff they did more like your model makers and miniatures and war military stuff, sort of dark wash deco and that. They made it kind of more gritty looking, more brings out the finer details and things.
I'd agree.
So you got that more modern Bishop where I almost got that one, and then they've cut his hair off, which annoyed me. And I was still going to buy that figure, but it was double retail, and I went, no, I'm not paying double retail for a figure where I couldn't get the previous. But for some reason, Rogue, Bishop, Psylocke, Cable, every bloody release in the last 10 years has been like scalped to hell. So when they release it again, people scalp it again, and it's just a bad cycle. At least in Australia, it's been impossible to get them.
I was thinking with that Bishop, what I might do is pop the head off him. I actually have an older Toy Biz Bishop with the long hair, and it's actually a really nice face sculpt as well. It's based off his like comic book look. Now the peg
Toy Biz, Lorenzo Lamas, and repaint it. That doesn't exist, but that no one won't.
But I won't be able to fit the peg exactly. It's a different size head.
You've either got to fill in or hollow it out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that light, that's just a little LED.
That's like a sign thing you bought, or what's that?
That's right. Yeah, I found it. It was in like the local game shop. They had a few of them. I have a Transformers one as well. Little cheap lights, but it does the trick. It's nice just to light up the display from the back.
You got Charles in charge, Charlie in the middle there. I almost bought that figure several times. They had old stock on the site, and for 2 years it was there, and I went to buy it, and then they finally went out of stock. Do you know about the weird error on the sculpting? His eyebrows are just a bit too.
It's that figure will come back again, I reckon. Anyway,
I hope so, because he comes with a big chair, and like it's in 2 halves in the packet. When it's got the packet, I thought, why has he got 2 chairs? I didn't know it was actually split in half, and you got to put it together. It's quite strange the way. I mean, they did it so the package would be a certain size for shipping and all that. But yeah, it's a decent figure overall. I've only got a Charlie where he's just I've got a movie Charlie where he's just the suit and all that, and which is better than none because it's got a Patrick Stewart head, so you know that's a bonus.
Wouldn't
Okay,
mind
so we've got
getting another
and
suit
your other
figure, just to have a guy in a suit. Like I wouldn't mind getting
yeah.
another Charles Xavier just for
Yeah,
the
well,
suit
bloody
body.
Hasbro Legends is notorious for their suit figures. They've done so many, like your Iron Man's, Obadiah Stane from the movie, and they're just the most generic, crappy figure. But if you want a suit figure or a Samuel L. Jackson that you can swap ahead and have a suit mafia dude or a suit guy, that is good for that on clearance. So over here you've got this big background, which I think is that the old NECA Turtles background, or what is that?
Yeah, it's the old NECA street scene diorama.
Yeah.
Which
And
I
you've got
did
currently you've got
originally pick up. I did pick that up with the intention of using it exclusively for the NECA Turtles, and in the end, I didn't really use it at all because I was like, it's so big, it's a waste just to have it for the Turtles, So I just started throwing all the Marvel and Street Fighter stuff onto it a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and
The
I
Marvel
think it
stuff
actually
first, obviously.
suits the Marvel stuff sort of better as far as being like generic background with, excuse me, brick for Marvel stuff. So here you've currently got your Marvel sort of display, and you've started mixing in some Street Fighter dudes in here from the Jada ones.
That's right, and I have to say they mix and match really well. Like the Jada
Yeah, like
bucks
the
are
colors, proportions,
slightly
yeah, well.
more, yeah, they're a bit more muscly, but you'd expect that from a bunch of Street Fighters. Like in the games, they're very, hyper
Yeah,
bulky and muscly anyway. So I can
and
forgive
the
them for
colors
that.
in the games are very bright for your old like CRT screens, which is very much like 70s, 80s comics. They're printing superhero sort of colors that pop on the screen or page or animation if you watch that dodgy USA Network Street Fighter cartoon.
But as you can see, like from these pictures, like height-wise, they scale pretty much perfectly. I think the
Yeah, they
Jada
go really nice.
toys and the Marvel Legends. And yeah, like I was saying about that street diorama thing, it's actually just good to use it as a tiered shelf, I think.
Yes,
There's
I
another
have a similar
plan.
shelf that's a Rise of the Turtle shelf, and it's just like this. It's got level, 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 and I've got several of them, and it's great just for displaying stuff as a shelf unto itself.
There's like another reason I picked it up at the time, apart from the fact I was going to display the turtles on it. I also thought, oh look, it's you can kind of take it apart. It's modular. Maybe I'll start using
Yeah,
it for like just lots of indoor photography setups and stuff. But be honest, it's become such a like staple shelf. I don't even like the idea of like taking it apart to use it for anything. I just want to keep it as it is. Maybe I'll buy a second one someday just for photos, but I'd say I'm going to keep this one as a shelf. You can see way up the top there on the top shelf. That's Fantastic Four, the Thing. That's actually an old Toy Biz one.
yes, it's got. I can see
That's
it's got his
that's
big
probably,
craggy eyebrows.
yeah. And a big Diamond Select Hulk is sitting beside him there up in that top
Nice.
shelf as
I
well
used
with
to have
all
a Toy
the
Biz
Spider-Man.
thing, but it was an early one where he had the open hands that look like this, so they just look ridiculous. I should have fists is the thing.
I've got still, so even though I did recently pick up the Hasbro Green Goblin, it's up the top there as well. But as I am still saying, I'll say it till the day I die, the Toy Biz goblins are still the best goblins. You can see both of them
Yeah,
there
they had
hovering
like
on the
chainmail
second shelf.
sculpted in and a dark wash on them, just like Spider-Man and his webs would have the dark wash with the black.
Really nice goblins, pair of them. What is it with Marvel and these like green characters? Is like green the cheapest fucking color of ink or something?
You
Just
got a
looking at
proper
this picture
sculpting
now,
with the proper face and not the stuffed up face they did.
yeah, the old green face I think was the first release, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, that one was terrible. That was an actual thing in the comics way back in the day. It does exist, but nobody wants that as a figure.
But yeah, like I have to say the Jada stuff, I just think it integrates really nicely, with the Hasbro Marvel Legends. Because I know a lot of people at the moment are kind of, they're looking forward to 2026. I think because there is talk that Hasbro might actually just let that Marvel license go, and another company will get it. And
One
now,
of the
look, I
10,000
complain
companies
about
that doesn't already
Hasbro.
do Marvel stuff.
I complain about Hasbro all the time. Anybody who knows me know I fucking bitch about their everything. Their Marvel Legends, their Black Series, Transformers.
Overpriced,
I'm
crappy
always getting,
plastics.
yeah, crappy plastic, yellow, shitty plastic.
Yeah,
But
things going yellow in the goddamn packet that are new before you buy them.
like I will say one thing, a lot of people hoping for them to let go of the license or lose the license. They might be pretty pissed off if another company gets it and then they have to kind of like almost start from scratch again because you don't
I was
know
there with the DC
at
stuff.
that
Mattel
scale
had
and
the
stuff. But
DC classics for a number of years. Right as it was ending, I was starting to get into it, including secondhand ones, and I bought a few. And then McFarlane took over, and it's like, oh great, I'm stuck with these 10 figures I got. I waited a full year, but when McFarlane started in DC, before I bought any of them, just to see if it would still be going after a year. And I went, right, I'm going to try and get a core JLA. Impossible to this day. After all these, you cannot complete a fucking JLA. It's impossible. Just to get the core like 7 to 10 figures I wanted. Can't do it. Not possible.
that's the thing, and that's a kind of it's a cautionary tale for the DC collectors because they've seen how that can go. You
I've
know,
got
where
piles of
you're
useless figures I
collecting.
never wanted from McFarlane that got it picked up in clearance when I was bored, and I never got a classic Wonder Woman. I couldn't get the ones I wanted, and it just pissed me off. I'll probably end up dumping the whole lot at some point.
And I'm sure there's lots of other people though like you where they had a decent maybe or at least a few figures in a particular scale, then they change companies and all of a sudden they don't match up and they have to like start from scratch. And that's kind of the thing. So, you know, if they do end up losing the license or letting go of the license, you know, it may not just go the way people want it to go. And like this is me shilling for Hasbro. Fuck Hasbro, you know, like they piss me off a lot of the time. But you know, for better or for worse, they've been kind of carrying the torch for the Marvel figures for a long, long
Yeah,
time.
I mean,
So
they're a very shitty company overall that put out a lot of shitty product today. I mean, you and I have both bought a lot of fucking Marvel shit and a lot of Transformers stuff over the years. We know how it was 20 years ago compared to now, and the better quality, better parts, better bit of screws are not fucking rusting, plastics aren't goddamn yellowing, and aren't overpriced, they have accessories, blah, blah, blah. Cardboard that's too thin and warps and falls over. And a lot of the sculptors, I mean, the best you can say, occasionally they do a nice sculpt, but they third party it out to other people that have nothing to do with their fucking company half the time. So fuck them up the ass. They suck.
speaking of kind of big chunky boys as well, my Venom and Carnage on the Spider-Man shelf, they're both Diamond Select. I think Diamond Select do a really nice Venom and Carnage.
Yeah. I got a bunch of Venoms now. I got a whole wave of, it was an older wave of Venom stuff, including a builder figure. And I went from having no Venoms to about 4 different Venoms and like about 8 different symbiotes. It's ridiculous. I like the
He-Hulk there
smirk on this
popping
Wolverine's
double
face.
bicep.
Yeah, pop, pop. Yeah, that's the. I've got that She-Hulk out the back. I haven't opened it yet, but it's been sitting out for 2 years now, about in the back room.
I think I must have been one of the few people in the world that already didn't have any type of Thanos figure before that 2-pack came out. So
Yeah,
I didn't mind buying the
I
Psylocke or
wanted that one
Thanos,
as
but I
well.
didn't
I've
have a
got a
Thanos.
couple of Thanoses. I've got a movie one. I've got the old diamond one, which is very much like the 80s Jim Starlin, big, wide, stocky one. Whereas this one is like the modern one, where he's a bit like taller in that. And I wanted to get that one as well, but missed out on it.
Wolverine in front of him is from that Secret Wars wave.
Ah, yes, that's why
Came out
he's
not
got
so
the
long ago.
brown, but it's a lighter brown, and not it's not the darker brown of the X-Men arcade. It's the lighter brown of the Secret Wars.
Yes. I think he was the only Secret Wars figure I picked up. So it was a pretty nice wave overall.
Do you want
If
to
they
get
do more
Wolverine
of
with
them.
the shield? It's much better than Captain America and his shield.
He did come with a stupid orange shield that had like a hologram on it, which I suppose is a homage to the old toys. I didn't give
Yeah.
a shit though. You, you charging me extra money for this, Hasbro? This junk.
It was one of the strangest gimmicks, that Mattel line, having all the bloody shields. It's like, why? It's just like when they had to have gimmicks for the sake of gimmicks.
Ken and Kami here. And he was going a bit heavy on the spray tan on his chest area there. That's another thing about the Jada toys. They've decent part swapping capabilities as well. Like, because I was messing around, like popping off Ryu and Ken's bodies and heads and stuff, and putting them onto the other bucks. Like, there's a decent amount of range. If you had a bit of time and patience to do some proper customs, you could get some really nice figures
My
on the go.
favorite was when you did the swap with like Ken to like He-Man. That was a bit
nice easy swap there as well. And you know, I'm sure Ken, you could get a couple of angry Ken faces to be like Prince Adam when he's freaking out, you know.
Just blonde heroic muscle man. So we've got some M. Bison here and Cap. You're reminding me of figures I actually have at the back, like I do. I've bought every Street Fighter Jada release so far in the normal deco, not the repaints. So I'm up to date. Like I got Sagat, Blanca, and whoever the hell else it was that came, Guile that came out in the last 6 months.
I think Hasbro are kind of benefiting from Jada at the moment in the sense that
I'm seeing a lot of these pictures online lately. People are like, "Oh, 90s Marvel vs. Capcom. We can mix these things up." You know, I'm seeing people spontaneously posting images who aren't like, you know, influencers or shills or nothing. Just people who just like enjoy toys and shit.
Because they have now put out this Gamerverse line.
Yeah, the Gamerverse. You know, they're very much capitalizing on not having any license of Capcom stuff, but putting out the stuff that's like, here's retro nostalgia vibes for Capcom things.
Exactly, because because Gamerverse keeps it nice and vague without having to pin you down to a license.
Well, most of the Gamerverse figures over the years have nothing to do with any fucking video games at all, which is quite strange that they call it that. Most of them are not in any video games.
Yeah, they definitely have their reasons for these branding decisions. Like, it's not just all kind of
Gamerverse Hulk stuff. Tell me the last time a Hulk video game came out. It was like 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, I couldn't even tell you, unless it's like from one of those like MCU spin-off video games. Is that even a thing? I don't even know if that is a thing.
Well, I don't follow mobile games and like battle strategy games for iPhone and shit. There's stuff like that, but that to me is just like, here's a model, put a color on it. It's not a true representation of the characters or a license. It's just a game engine that you could slap any coat of paint on.
I'll give another shout out to our good friend Jesse the Epic Badger. I actually love his Jada Street Fighter display. The way he has his done, he's kept the backgrounds from the individual boxes and kind of has the characters in front of their stage background. It just looks really nice to have them kind of you know, segmented like that. If I had the space in the future, I'd almost consider doing something like that. It might even be a good way to display the player 2 colors of the characters if I ever end up going down that road fully.
It's nice when they do those little backgrounds and boxes, and a few times there's been ones like, even in Transformers there's been nice background stuff, and I've squirreled stuff away and go, "Oh, keep that," and then I end up chucking it 6 months later because I've got no way I can put it out.
Yeah,
no practical way to have it anywhere.
The best intentions sometimes with these things is like, oh, I'll collect them all and make a great diorama and all this, and it just they either go into storage or they end up going out to the rubbish.
I did keep a Marvel Comics logo from a T-shirt that's actually in the background. If you look at the top, behind the graphic of the Marvel Comics is an actual cardboard piece of Marvel Comics I used to have on that shelf there, and I just blue tacked it on the shelf when I had the Marvel display up, and it actually looked alright because you could see it from across the room.
Good idea.
Oh, you got the bike with the Ghost Rider. I have the later release of the Ghost Rider without the bike, which was not terribly desirable. And Blackheart's like, hello, I'm just hanging out.
Hello,
What's going on?
And that's the old he's a Toy Biz, another nice Toy Biz.
Give me a few quid, then you sold.
That's one thing that's handy about that NECA Street diorama as well. On the sides, you can remove bricks and there's little holes. So if you have something that you can stick in the hole, that kind of you can hook a figure on the side. That's why it's easy for me to kind of hang figures off the side of it without them, you know, dropping off.
I've done a similar thing with my Turtle set one, which is the Rise of the Turtle set. It's all tiered. And then I've hung figures on the side of it as well.
And there's a new maker has entered the game here, because that Chun-Li is not a Jada Chun-Li. That is in
No,
fact
it's not.
an
Different head on there.
SH Big Arts
Oh,
Chun-Li.
fancy. That's fancy, man, toys.
Beautiful figure. Bought her on my
Thighs of
honeymoon.
steel.
When I was honeymooning with my wife, I treated myself to a SH Big Arts Chun-Li in Rome. So it has a special place in my heart, apart from being a great figure.
Your
You
missus
know?
was like, right, I'm off for a good time. You can just go home with this Chun-Li. I'll see you later.
Yeah, well, we found a toy shop right in the middle of Rome. It was called Pinocchio Toys, and they were selling lots of cool Japanese import toys. So I got that Chun-Li and a Ryu.
Cool.
They're
So
my
have you got
only
the
two
Jada one as
SH
well?
figure. I don't. Well, I do. I have the red Chun-Li
Oh, there you go.
as a Jada.
I
But I
had
decided
a
to not go for the blue one because I already had a blue Chun-Li.
yeah, it makes sense. I've done that too with various lines where I've got a figure in one deco from a certain brand, and then rather than buying the exact same figure from a different company, I went, well, I'll get the alternate color one. Then it makes more sense. I took the Jada one and put it on a stand. Came with the movie Black Widow, one of the millions of releases they did in the white version. It's got one of those adjustable stands, a big square base, and you can go up and down like this on the big column, and it has a nice C bracket that's on a kind of hinge, and it held the Chun-Li perfectly. So I put it upside down in the spinning bird kick pose, and the stand was like great for that. I couldn't do it on other types of stands, but this one was really adjustable, and you get the height just right, and you could put her next to another character, just like the game of that. So it was quite cool. Well, down the track, when I have some on when they complete the rest of the Jada line and get the bloody Zangief and E Honda and all that, I'm going to put it back on that same stand again, and that pose looks really cool.
And if you can just when you get decent stands that can actually hold the weight of a figure doing a pose.
So if you live in Japan, it's a bloody paradise of figure stands and things. Whereas in the West, it's hard to get them because we get a shitty holes in the base, and just you get crappy. I've knocked over my Zillas. You get crappy little things like this that things just fall over on, and are not the best for doing dynamic poses.
Diamond Select Carnage there again. I just really like that figure with the tendrils kind of coming off his
Yeah,
body.
I almost got him too. I do have the standard Hasbro one, which was quite decent, but the I do love the tendrils on the diamond one. For the same reason I wanted to get him.
Everybody on this middle shelf is just queuing up to kick the shit out of Spider-Man, who's just caught in the center of it all.
Yeah, I've got most of these same Spidey villains. I didn't buy a Chameleon because it's a really nice figure, and I just out of space, and I was just like, I've never given a crap about Chameleon. I've never wanted to figure him, so I went there. And then Kane, I read all the comics in the 90s. That figure's really nice, and I went, yeah, I've got all these other villains. I can't fit more on the shelf. I'm just going to pass, even though I would like to give them. But I have these guys here. I got the old Hobgoblin and Mysterio, and that's one of the older Hobgoblins by the look of it, because he's got the chainmail in the grooves.
It's the Toy Biz
yes,
Goblin.
That looks like that looks like what we didn't know until many years later was the Roderick Kingsley Hobgoblin, and then later Jason McIntyre took over the costume, and he was a fucking loser. But the original Hobgoblin was better.
What I love about that Hobgoblin is they went to the trouble of giving him the correct glider. They didn't just repaint the Green Goblin
the different glider, not the repaint of the Green Goblin one.
And the Toy Biz Green Goblin you see behind him, he's actually on a Diamond Select Green Goblin glider. So I'm really mixing and matching when it comes to my goblins. I just love fucking around with the tech when it comes to the goblins to get that.
Well, sometimes you have to get the correct look, because the ones they put out are not quite right, because they kind of mix and match. When you've got a character that's been around several decades and there's been different people in the costume and different equipment, sometimes when they do the figures, they mix and match bits, and I don't know if they're done on purpose or they're just fucking hopeless at looking up reference material you can see in like 2 seconds of an internet search, but they do that shit, and it's annoying.
I still need to get a Kingpin for my Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, I have that Kingpin, the big white one.
There might be a certain grindhead Jim maybe might have one sitting by for me that he wants to move on to me maybe. Just putting on there. If you're listening, Jim, I'd happily take that kingpin off you if you still have a spare one.
If you do get a kingpin, you have to look up on YouTube, or if it's still on there, they cut from the old, not Daredevil Born Again, but the old Daredevil Netflix show. Look up The City, where it cuts together all the times he says the city, the city, the city, the city through the show. And it goes for like several minutes going, the city, and like every possible intonation. I was watching some of Born Again yesterday, 2 episodes in, already he's on a the city rampage for saying the city.
You see that web man behind the Green Goblin?
Yeah.
He's like the reverse Spider-Man. Like he's supposed to be like that Spider-Man from the other dimension, or like the Doctor Doom doppelganger created Spider-Man. But to be honest, the reason I kind of got that Spider-Man was he actually reminded me of that. Remember that gimmick Brad Armstrong was doing in WCW, Arachnaman, where they couldn't get the license for Spider-Man, so they just put him in a costume that was like the wrong colors and called him Arachnaman. That's why that web man kind of reminds me of that. I just got a kick out of it.
It's classic.
Knockoff, you know. Yeah, still building though. You know, I still will pick up the odd X-Men and the odd Spider-Man character as I can find them for affordable prices. And
I'm pretty much
like I said,
Legends. Like I've got the core ones I wanted, like Avengers, Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, and core villains from the first 5 years, minus Kraven and Chameleon, because I never cared too much about them as characters. I was just like, don't have to have them. Whereas I got to have Lizard, got to have Mysterio, got to have Green Goblin, Venom, Carnage.
Yeah, you know, as I was saying earlier, if it's cartoon look, comic look, as long as I can kind of blend them together, I don't really mind. If it incorporates
sometimes
that
even the live action ones, occasionally get one that can migrate to a comic shop and work, and sometimes the other way around. You can get a comic one that can work in a live action shop. Like I've got a live action like Rhodey War Machine, and the body on that was from like, I don't know, Iron Man 2 or 3 or later Avengers. It's real big and real square and buff, but you can head swap on it. I've had a Punisher head on there. I've had a Rhodey head on there. I've had movie head Rhodey. I've had comic head Rhodey. I've had Punisher head from that Punisher when we had Stole War Machine armor. And it works as all those. And sometimes you get a figure that's just really cool and it can work in different multiple lines, and that's fun.
I believe the stand I have the Hobgoblin using at the moment is actually the stand that came with a McFarlane Superman. So
I've got a bunch of those stands.
Works well. It can hold the weight of the glider, so I'll appreciate it for that.
Yeah, I picked up some of those when they were going a little bit cheap just to get some more of those stands.
But yeah, Marvel and Capcom, they're coming together. They're colliding on my shelf displays at the moment.
So did you play any arcade games back then, or the home ports or anything? Like I played like all of them from that first X-Men game.
Because, like, as you know from our previous discussions, you know already I'm a big Street Fighter fan anyway. So when the first Street Fighter versus X-Men game came out, and then even before that, there was that Marvel superheroes game.
Yeah, they went in chronological order. We had X-Men, which was a very basic fighting game and a little bit broken, but looked beautiful with the sprites. We had Marvel superheroes, that was even more popular. X-Men versus Street Fighter, that went crazy. People were lining up to play that. Then it was Marvel superheroes versus Street Fighter, and then we got to the end of the decade, we got Marvel vs. Capcom and Marvel vs. Capcom 2, all 2D, and then years later we got the Marvel vs. Capcom 3, which is like, different graphics and home machines and all that.
I remember going into the game shops to play the demo. They'd have a Dreamcast set up with Marvel versus Capcom 2, and like at school at lunchtime, everybody would be going in just to like get in a few rounds.
Great game, terrible music. It's like terrible menu music. So annoying. It's like, would I rather listen to a marathon of that menu music or Daytona USA? Either one, that would be like CIA torture, man.
Oh yeah, play them both on a continuous loop while you're strapped to a chair
for 24 hours with the lights on. No more video games ever again.
Yeah, pop your eardrums.
Yeah, But yeah, any sort of closing thoughts on the Marvel
Like closing
Street Fighters
thoughts.
and the Boba Hicks awesome collection there?
Well, look, my thoughts are I had fun just chatting about the shelves and talking about the collection. I do think that we're not alone being these type of crossover collectors that are collecting the Jada stuff and the Marvel stuff, you know, kind of side by side for the
Yes.
purpose of kind of mixing them together in those type of game scenarios. So look,
Worlds can
if
collide. You can have
anybody
Scooby-Doo and crypto together.
if anybody out there is watching and they're of a similar mindset, look, let us know what's your setup like. Are you like a Jada person? Do you think they're like kicking ass at the moment? Are you just more like, you know, no, I'm going to stick with my Hasbro, I'm going to stick with my Marvel Legends?
Some people are SOTA diehards. Some people have got their Storm collectibles, and they're like, I don't want to know about this other stuff. This is what I got.
Yeah,
Might have Toy
people
Biz
are just
Marvel, and they're fine with that. I mean, they're all good, different collections and different stuff to have. I mean, I've still got a bunch of old Toy Biz stuff in a big box that I mean to give away to a friend for a year. It's been packed up to post internationally to New Zealand. I'm going to give it away, but it's going to cost me to give it away. That's why it's still sitting there.
looks like we got a bit of a triple threat crime spree going on next week, do we?
Yeah. So we've done our 90s Dinosaur Forever. That's a bit of hype for shows done previous weeks. We did our Gloob, also the 90s themes, a lot of micro scale and other cool stuff we were badge a few weeks back. So check that out, hit up the old playlist. And coming up next week, we've got a Cinematic Crimes cage match. We've talked about plenty of good movies. Now we're going to talk about some bad movies, but we're easing into it. We're real gentle. We're not going Z grade or even D grade. We're going kind of B movies. RoboCop 3 versus Superman 3 versus Ninja Turtles 3. And we'll talk about these films next week, and we'll see what's going to be like the best of the worst in those films. Like all three are genuinely bad films. All three I genuinely actually enjoy watching. So a bit of a disclaimer there. So before we will get onto some other truly terrible films or other shows down the track. But let's start off with stuff we're familiar with. It's nice and easy, and we can see what's actually the best of the worst of these out of these three third sequels.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to dissecting some of these. And look, like you said, like you were saying, you know, they may not be good, but they are very enjoyable and can be very
I do own all
entertaining.
three of them on DVD or Blu-ray.
Yeah, me too. I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to shining a light on these. And look, I'm sure we're going to find the good in them, you know, but we won't
there's
be
plenty of
hiding
good
from
in
the bad.
those. Like we'll later in the year we'll get to some genuinely like awful films just to talk about some truly like bad stuff. But this is like
Real
good
garbage.
production's kind of gone wrong for multiple reasons.
Yes. Yeah. No, it's going to be good. It's going to be good, and hope to see everybody there next week for the three-way dance. And like I was saying, drop us your comments on the old Marvel Legends / Jada Toys deal. Who do you think could potentially get that Marvel license if they do end up shopping it around in
Yeah, it's got to be
2026?
fairly
Let us know.
limited options. It's got to come down to like 2 or 3 possible companies that could handle all the money and the output and this and that. I do think Hasbro that they put out way too much goddamn product for all the stuff each year for just for Marvel stuff alone, let alone other stuff.
I would agree. But definitely, folks, let us know what you think. And yeah, Johnny and I will see you all next week.
Yeah, I'll catch you guys next time. Thanks for listening.
Take care.